All right, welcome. Going to be doing an explained run on Dooley. Just wanted to show Dooley in my profile page here. Played a lot of games on Dooley. Some of these are fun games. I play ranked, but I don't always try to go for the best build possible. So my 10 win percentage is decent. It could be better. Sometimes I stream and go for content. Sometimes I play on my phone by streaming from my PC to my phone, and I'm like not paying full attention while I'm doing that and just kind of playing as we go. But I'm going to try and explain everything I'm doing here in this ranked run for Dooley. I was legend in the previous season. This current season, I'm just up to gold now, but it's still early on. I know people are at legend already. I haven't had as much time to play as I would like. Let's see what cores we get offered here. Well, Ignition Core is kind of the easiest core to pick. It's kind of head and shoulders above the rest. Weaponized Core is decent as well. I would say Weaponized Core, Companion Core, and The Core are kind of similar. They can all kind of work. Armored Core, not so great. Ignition Core, very good though. So we'll take that. Here, there's really two choices. Income is decent. It kind of gives you a stable start, gets you that money you want for, looking for the items you need later on, looking for bugs, all that sort of thing. Gold skill, depending on what you get, it's a little bit of a gamble. And generally, you do have enough money to get what you need in the early days. As Dooley, you don't have a ton of econ, although there are a couple new items with the new patch with the bugs. The SATCOM can give you a friend on each day, which helps with your econ a little bit. I generally like to go for the gold skill. It depends a little bit on the cores you have. With the Ignition Core, it's so good on its own that you don't necessarily need a gold skill to push you over the top. So it's a toss-up between these two. I'm going to go for the income in this case. It'll really let me find what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a ton of small items early. First Aid, Uzi are kind of the main two that you're looking for. Potentially a battery if you do get something like the rocket launcher. But we're going to go here instead of anywhere else. So there's the Uzi we talked about. Chris Army Knife is not great on his own. Really what you want him for is enabling the soldering gun because he's both a weapon and a tool. But I think on these early days, since we took the income, we have a lot of money. We can try and look for something better. The induction Aegis is just too little. Even though it would technically scale with the Ignition Core, I think it's just not a good enough item to bother taking this early. We're really rolling here looking for bugs. Bugs are kind of the go-to build in the current patch. And really the bugs let you do a variety of things. Bugs work well together with DJ Robot. Bugs work well together with Bulldozer. Bugs work well together with Dualtron. And just in general, they're very good items to have. Here, there's nothing exciting. We're going to hit another shop, so we can skip what's here. Here, there's not much of a choice. Really, you're going for the Viper, for the Fang, for the Toxic Fang. Duct tape has been nerfed, so it's not nearly as good as it used to be. So we go for Viper, and we're hoping for the Toxic Fang. Another good item would be the regular Fang. Just, it's quick, helps the Ignition Core go faster. The skill is decent because if you happen to pick up the freeze when you poison skill, then you'll freeze right out of the gate at the start of the fight, which can be very, very helpful. So we'll see what we get here. Toxic Fang, that's probably the best we could have hoped for there. We don't have any damage on it right now. So, it's not actually that great. It's basically the same as a regular Fang at the moment, but that's okay. It'll sell for a little extra money too, a little extra gold. I generally try to take the furry monster if I have a friend or a toy or a food, and take the free XP, because XP is kind of very hard to come by. The reason we go to medium items here, though, instead of taking like, you know, the little bit of 25 health, which is 10% right now, which is not bad. We really want some medium items like the rocket launcher. So that's what we're looking for here. That's kind of our hope. That said, SATCOM is very nice to have. Like I mentioned before, it gives you a little bit of econ at bronze. Not great. Takes a few days to pay itself back. But it can also give you friends that you need. You know, it gives you the bugs, that sort of thing. And there's the rocket launcher we needed. So we're going to take the rocket launcher, put it in there. This is very good to have on your builds. Now here, the choices are Quixel. I don't like going to Quixel when I have so little money, although she might sell us the things we need. We do want small items like the bugs. We do want medium items like the drill, although we wouldn't use the drill right now. We would upgrade the rocket launcher if we found it, because that's a decent upgrade. But because she costs 4 gold to re-roll, and we don't have that much gold right now, we're going to skip it. We could get a free slow item, but I'd rather right now just go to the strange mushroom and take the 4 gold, and that'll set us up for, you know, the next shops that we run into. Now, day 1 is a bit of a coin flip because we don't have the gold skill. We sometimes tank day 1 depending on what we run into. We do have a chance though because we have a bit of scaling burn here. So the gold skill, if you can get something to match up with it, you know, a burn gold skill with some burn, a weapon gold skill, that does really help out in the early days on Dooley, and it's really, really important to get the early day wins on Dooley if you can. He can sometimes struggle in the later days, you know, past day 10, you know, to some crazy Mac builds, to some crazy everything builds. Kind of everything's crazy once you're past day 10. But certain Dooley builds take some time to scale, and then there's definitely builds out there that can counter that. And you run into things like caltrops and you're wishing you got the early wins, just like I got there. Okay, our board's going to expand. So before we make any choices, we're going to look back in to see what we got. We got a first aid in, so that's going to go on the board. Probably the Uzi will go on the board as well. So that's our board once it expands. So we have to think about what we're potentially looking for. We do have a lot of money, so we can go fishing here, basically for our drill, like I mentioned before, maybe a SATCOM upgrade, maybe a rocket launcher upgrade. And I think we're not giving up that much by going here. Like the worst part that you want to avoid when you're doing Dooley runs is going to shops when you're not sure what you're looking for. Don't find anything, re-roll, don't find anything, and then you gave up some definite advantage. So here, the definite advantage I'm giving up is a random item, which likely just sell for a bit of gold, or, you know, a bit of gold here as well. So I'm not giving up too much, and I have things that I'm potentially looking for in this shop. A pulse rifle is one of those things. I didn't mention it before, but, you know, together with first aid in, if that's your only friend, which it is my only friend currently, it can help charge the ignition core pretty fast. So we're going to take it. It's only 4 gold. We like that it's 4 gold at bronze, actually, because we don't care that much about the damage. And there is a worthwhile rocket launcher upgrade, so we'll definitely take that. There is another consideration here for the blast doors. Blast doors can be very good early on. It can save your butt. But that said, I think because we have first aid in and Uzi, we don't really have a spot for it. And, you know, maybe if we hit a Vanessa or a Mac, we could run it, but it's sort of a coin flip because Vanessa and Mac both have poison builds where the blast doors doesn't help. And since we do have some replacement items, we're not going to bother with the blast doors. Okay, we'll take a look at our bronze skills. We have 20 damage here, which is 60 damage basically on the rocket launcher, or we have +2 burn on the left. The burn is kind of better in longer. I'm trying to say, like the burn is better in the long run. The weapon damage is better up front right now because the burn scales better into the later game. A flat 20 damage is very, very good right now, but doesn't necessarily scale into the later game. Right now, I think I would take the leftmost weapon damage. It kind of sucks because what happens is if we have Uzi out here, it's going to steal that weapon damage, but that's still a pretty significant amount of damage on the Uzi. So I think that's worthwhile. It's not as effective as it would be on the rocket launcher. So that said, I don't think it's wrong to take Immolating Spark here. I think these are fine choices. Either of them. And here, Quixel again, I don't like to go when I don't have that much money and I'm not necessarily looking for something to improve my board. And B1, B2, an upgrade on the ignition core, especially this early, can carry you for several days because it's quite a big upgrade. It goes from 4 burn to 7 burn, and the burn that it adds onto the items to the right doubles. It goes to 2. So this is a very, very good upgrade to have this early. And we should be having no problem fighting the Rogue Scrapper here because we'll be able to stack burn. You really, really want to be able to beat the Rogue Scrapper if at all possible because you're trying to get as much XP as possible. It's really important on Dooley to get those early levels to get his health up. He is the second weakest character in terms of just flat base health. So it is important to XP max, get those levels up as high as you can because that gives you HP. It's important to take chocolate pretty early on and even late game as well. Chocolate can be very important. Here's an interesting choice. Now, I'm relatively strong, but the problem with going to the mountain pass and trying for a fight is that some of the fights you can definitely lose on these early days. And then you're getting 1 XP out of that, which is okay. I could go for small items, but we have a decent amount of items already that we don't really need to look for something right this second. It is always nice to go here to look for bugs because he sells only smalls. I'm going to go for the guaranteed XP here rather than the fight. It's just going to give a little bit of money here. And the problem with going here is if we hit, get a free random item or get, basically you don't want to hit the get a free random item. This will let us level up by taking that guaranteed XP. If I went to the mountain pass and they gave us a free random item, we would be short 1 XP. And like I said, levels super important. On day 2, if you can get to level 3, that's what you want to do. Here, to go to the shop, we're giving up the Lost Crate, which is a free random medium item or a random skill. So it's sort of maybe you'd get nothing from there that's useful. And same with getting a small weapon. So we go to JJ. He can sell kind of everything. And we're looking for things like this. The Black Spider. I would say this is basically the second best bug that you can get. He's the one that does slow. So we will take that. Plasma Grenade can be very good for the drill, but we're not necessarily a drill build right this second, so I'm going to pass on it. I don't think it's wrong to take the Plasma Grenade, though. And the memory card we don't necessarily need because we took income and econ. You could take the memory card. It's not... it's a little finicky. Like, you have to remember to put it in, and you have to remember, you have to adjust your board to make sure you can still win against enemies. I've definitely taken the memory card before to get econ out of it, so it can be a choice that you make, and it works okay. But we'll roll here looking for more bugs. Nothing here that's really worthwhile. Like weak point detector could make sense if you have a slow build going. Thrusters is like something you want maybe later in the game if you have a large item that needs cooldown like Mamasaur. But right now, none of these are worth taking. So we got our level 3. Very important for day 2 level 3. I'm not taking the loot item. I'm just going to take a random bronze item. That's going to give me some gold if it's not something I need, but maybe it'll be something I can use. Arc Blaster. Not great, but it'll be some gold. So what we can do now, I think this is going to be the layout. I'm going to sell this for damage. It's a pretty significant damage increase, 6, which means actually 18 damage here and 18 damage here because they're multicasting. A little bit of damage on the Uzi. I'm not putting the slow spider out yet. It's pretty slow on its own. I could put it next to, the rocket launcher and that kind of stuff to charge it up. But right now, we're only on day 2. We're going to be fighting people with pretty low health. So I think just outputting this damage as quickly as possible, not worrying about things like slow, is going to be our best bet. I believe I saw they were still level 2, so we're going to have a significant advantage there in terms of health and in terms of board space. They have 2 very good shield skills here, so that gives them some extra health. But our damage output is just going to be way too high for what they're doing here. Yeah, we put out a lot of burn there, and we got through there. You see, we did run out of ammo pretty quickly with the Uzi. So at some point here, we might swap the damage over to the pulse rifle instead of the Uzi. All right, here we're looking at spare change. We're looking at potential weapons and the artisan dunes. Here, I think what we do, I'm just going to move this over because this only has 6 ammo right now. We're on to day 3 now. People will definitely be level 3 and higher, so they're going to have, at least kind of 400-ish health unless they're Mac. And so we'll get a couple more hits out of the pulse rifle rather than the Uzi. Weapons, we could go there. There's not really a weapon we're necessarily looking for at this second. We could be looking for the drill, but we actually probably wouldn't really use the drill right now because we don't have that much in terms of enablers for the drill. So we're going to go to the dunes and we're going to put burn on the rocket launcher. The reason why I put it on the rocket launcher is just, it has the multicast. So 2 burn is actually 6 burn, which is a lot early on. Here we can get regeneration. That's not great. Curio, you could go fishing there for some stuff, but Mountain Pass is hard to pass. That's usually what you're going for. And here we're on day 3. We have a pretty good board. We're going to look for a fight. Okay, there, we got the item. So if we did this last day, we would have been level 2 and maybe it would have taken a loss. Not on that particular fight, but there's the possibility. So here we're definitely going to XP max again. I really think some people overvalue I'm looking for a specific skill or looking for a specific item by trying to fight these guys. Maybe I want the fiery cutlass because that's going to scale with the ignition core. Sure, you might want that, but you're giving up something to go fishing for that. You're giving up extra gold and an extra XP. If you can take the big fight, generally that's what you want to do, at least on Dooley. That's the guy I play the most, so that's what makes sense on Dooley. You really want to be able to take those max XP fights, max gold fights as much as possible. And here we can kill the Aetheryte because we keep her shield down. If you're a poison build, you might not be able to go here. So that's one reason why poison builds are generally not great. Poison builds can be good on, Mac and things like that, but there's not a lot of poison builds on Dooley that are very good. The monitor lizard has been nerfed. The reason why I'm not selling these, sometimes you see people playing, and I've seen people playing, and I do it myself sometimes if I'm not paying attention. They just get these things and they're like, I'm never going to use this. They just sell it. But that's premature. Maybe something comes along that enables one of these and makes them useful. But really, the more important thing is if you happen to run into a shop where things sell for more. If you run into Barcoon, it sells, you can sell your small items for an extra gold. So why not keep them in the stash as long as they're not getting in the way. Here, we could get a med kit to improve Aiden, but I think the easy choice here is just Sylvia because we have a good amount of money. We're not giving up much to go here and look. Nothing really here worth talking about. And I am going to roll because we have a good amount of money and a few things we could sell if we run into something good here. Okay, nothing worth thinking about here. Missiles, not great. Defense matrix, I've never seen anyone run this thing. Cog can be good in very small situational spots. But as for now, not great. Okay. The bronze upgrade or a skill. In the past, I've almost always gone for skills and maybe use the bronze upgrade on like the ignition core if it wasn't always upgraded. That said, I think there's a few options here. Basically two. We could upgrade to first Aiden because that's a very good upgrade. Extra 2 seconds of haste, or extra 1 second of haste, sorry, it goes from 1 to 2. And the other possible upgrade is SATCOM. These are the two I'm thinking about. SATCOM, it's going to pay itself back much more quickly, and we're going to get the potential, to get silver spiders, silver other things out of it. I don't think it's wrong to take the skill. Skills are very good on Dooley, so it's never like completely wrong to just go look for a skill like defense grid or a fire skill. But I think in this case, upgrading the SATCOM is worth it because our board, like it might feel weird to upgrade something that we're not actually putting on the board, but in this case, our board is pretty good. So we actually don't need to worry about making sure our board is really strong. Here, the sharpening stone is pretty good on the rocket launcher, but I think with the amount of money we have, we can go to JJ. Mandala is just not something we're interested in. I mean, you could turn this into something else toxic, but I really don't care about poison right now. So toxic anything doesn't really matter to me. So here we get a bug upgrade. That's an easy take. Kind of the order of bugs that you want to be working with is like the freeze bug is the most important. Next is the slow bug. Next, then the haste bug, and then the other two. Speaking of the haste bug, we have that here as well. And we have enough money to re-roll and fish for some more bugs. Okay, nothing here is worth it. We're not taking a Hamlet upgrade. We do have to think about running whether or not we want to run the bugs here because it does reduce the multicast of this. We could say like take out first Aiden, put in the black spider. Slowing 3 items is pretty effective, but it means we don't have much else going on the board if we care to have this at a 3 times multicast. I think it's worth it in this case just to go down to 2 times multicast and maybe put this bug over here. There's an option of putting it here or here. Here, obviously, it helps charge the ignition core. Here, it's going to charge itself faster, which will slow things faster. I think we maybe put it here to help increase the rocket launcher burn a little bit quicker. And then the other potential item I'm looking for here is, I guess, the mantis. It's kind of annoying. It has to go by something that burns as well. So it's like one of these two. Since it's bronze and this is gold, I'm choosing to put this one up front instead. Then the other choice we have to make here is whether we want the Uzi with the extra damage. It only has 6 ammo still. Or we want the pulse rifle. It's annoying that we lose a multicast on the pulse rifle to include these bugs. We could just go full damage and take some bugs out, which actually, now that I think about it, we're against a Mac. So like just going full damage like this might actually be the way to go. Mac has low health in these early days. He hopefully doesn't have like any kind of crazy scaling. I think this is actually just a little bit better against a Mac specifically. Against something like a pig, maybe we go a different route. But against a Mac, I think going all out damage here is the way to go. Don't give him time to put out poison and burn. He's got a lot of health. And he's going to have a bit of regen. This thing is going to scale up pretty quickly here. We put out damage pretty fast, though, so I think we take this one. Yeah. So I think that was better than putting the slows and things out there. We might have still won, but it worked out. So I think on balance, this choice was the better build. Okay, so we got a first aid in here. That's kind of funny. All right, what are we looking at here? More money and a random item, more money, or just small items? We have enough money because we took that income. We can go fish for some small items. The Uzi used to not be worthwhile to upgrade, but now it's actually an okay upgrade because it gets more ammo. We get a bug, which helps enable the other bugs, and we're going to look for more. A metronome can also be very good. Gear Nola is a consideration. It's actually quite a lot of shield. And it might be worthwhile to take that if we can find space for it. Because if we run up against a Vanessa specifically, Gear Nola can help you live past them using up their ammo or something like that. So I think it's worth it to take. And in terms of selling items, you might think, oh, I'll just sell any of these things. But it's actually better to sell this because it's silver. There's a shop event, Valpak, I think his name is. He's like the red guy, who you can sell bronze items at increased cost to. There's no one that gives you extra money for selling silvers. So we just sell the silver right now because it gives us what we need. And we can sell, well, I guess in this case, we have to make some more sales. So I was thinking we had 2 extra gold there, but we have to make some extra sales there anyway to get the Gear Nola. If I only needed to sell one thing there, then that whole spiel made sense. Okay, chocolate. I've been waiting for some chocolate. It's unfortunate we don't have a lot of money. We want to buy 5 chocolate here. It's very important against certain enemies like the Flame Juggler to have that extra health early on. And it's very good on, day 7 and below, or, chocolate's kind of always good, but we don't have a ton of money to look for items here. There's not really any mediums items I'm necessarily looking for anyway. But we're going to go chocolate. We just have to figure out what we're getting rid of to make the space for it. I think we can get rid of the bronze first aid in, since we have a silver one. The arc blaster is just not a very good item in general, so we can get rid of that. And then we have to get rid of one more thing. I think the Fang is kind of outlived its purpose, really. We don't have any weapon scaling. Like, we could put it in because it does 30 damage and 3 poison, like that. And It stacks up the poison. Maybe that's something to consider. Like we could cut the pulse rifle because it's not dealing that much damage now and go with some bugs because we have to fill in the space. Maybe that's the way to go this time. We'll sell the pulse rifle, make our space. One more gold for one more gold. I could sell the wasp because like silver chocolate is just, you know, much better. But I think since we're early in the day, I'm going to see some more shops. I'll take the free chocolate for now, the bronze ones. Okay, Prince Marianus. He's a bit scary. I'm going to sell these and then like think about where we're at. He scales up very fast now with the shark claws, so he's a very tough fight. I have to think about whether or not what we have would really kill him. Basically, our scaling is could put this here and then put this one here. And then we'd probably like put this wasp in because we'll run out of ammo. It's a tough choice. There's also the possibility we take this out because then that puts the 20 damage on this, and then we can put Gearnola for basically an extra 120 health. So we'd be at 720. The slow is not that relevant. The heal is actually not that relevant. Same with the haste. Basically, we're relying totally on this. It's a tough call. He scales pretty fast. And we're only at 600 health. I'm going to try it. There's a possibility I lose here. You could math out like the actual damage that he does. You're basically scared of this piranha and his scaling damage. Yeah, I might have mentioned Shark Claws before. He's not the one with Shark Claws. It's the other guy. But this guy still does scale and deal like scary damage when this crits you. So it's going to be somewhat close here. I think with the burn, we're good. But you can see they were almost at a hit here. And they had crit. So like I could have died if it was basically another like second or two. A diamond citrus is interesting. We can hold on to that. All right, let's see what we have here. We have the firepower for the core. This is really good right now because it will upgrade the rocket launcher. It will scale the rocket launcher. It falls off or it becomes useless later because you're typically looking to get rid of the core. That said, ignition core specifically can take you to 10 wins with just enough burn and enough damage. You can get there. Balanced friendship is okay because you are running some bugs. And reserve shield is okay if you wanted to try and force a force field run. It's an interesting choice. The other choice is to re-roll and maybe try and get something like defense grid or like a fire skill or something. I'm gonna re-roll here. I think there's an argument to be made for firepower, and these other two are kind of farther behind. So I'm gonna re-roll and hope we hit something good. Okay, we got right-handed. That's a lot of damage. These other two are not really great, so we're lucky we got something that we wanted. That's a lot of damage on the rocket launcher. So like that's actually, it's like 3 core charges from that firepower skill that would equal this. So that's pretty good. Here, I am still looking for a drill. That said, we don't have a ton of money. Gumballs are too expensive. Mostly buying these like late game. And 1 XP is pretty good. XP is hard to come by, so it's not bad to take that. Here's Valpak, that guy that buys things that are bronze for an extra gold. That said, I think it's worth it to put the burn on this rocket launcher. Just get a lot of burn because it's still pretty strong on the days we're at. We're up against a pig here. So I don't think we want Uzi. Pigs have lots of HP. The other choice to think about is the Fang for poison. But I don't think that's necessary. I like hasting Aiden with the metronome because Aiden is fast. The other possibility is to think about like putting this guy like here, because when either of these burns, this will get charged. That seems decent. It's going to put a lot more haste out on everything. I can still haste the ignition core. So that's what we're going to do. Against a pig with more health, this is probably going to give us more scaling overall, I think. Just putting more haste out there to get the ignition core going as much as possible. What are we facing here? An atlatl that scales, but it's going to take a little while. And some duct tape. They do have a lot of health, but we are up 1 level on them. So like I said, Dooley levels, super important. We're going to put out a lot of burn here, and they're dead. Yeah, so the extra level didn't really matter. They don't have a build going yet. Pigs in the early game tend not to, unless they have a matchbox. They can put out some good burn with matchbox. All right, so here, let's take a look at what friend we got first. We got our free piggle from fighting that guy. We got a trained spider, not great. Gives a couple poison, probably doesn't matter too much. We can go to Curio. Curio is kind of expensive to get all the things you want, and you might not get anything you want. I think we just put more burn on this thing, like riding the rocket launcher for at least like 2 or 3 more days can be very good. Here, we could look for weapons. We could look for that drill we've been talking about this whole time. We can take some spare change, which would be okay because we're a bit low on cash. I might just take the damage here, although we're early days. The damage can help you secure the win on the day, because basically the temp boost is something that the ghosts that you face can never have. Whenever you face a ghost, they don't have temp boost extra health or temp boost extra damage. They don't have the event called Relax where you get a whole bunch of shield. They never have those things. So when you take a temp boost, sure, it's only temporary. But if it can secure you the win for that day, that matters a lot in these early days. So that's why I'm considering this. But I think just with our low funds, I'm going to just take the spare change here. And again, we're XP maxing. Maybe these guys have some skills or items you might want, but this is guaranteed money and guaranteed XP. Trash Town Mare is a pushover, so no problem there. And this guy, even though like I'm not caring that much about what they have in terms of skills, augmented weaponry would be good for us, and a sharpening stone would be good for us. So we're hoping we get those, but if we don't, we're fine with the extra gold and XP. My farm policy plan. I do not have a farm policy plan, Trash Town Mare. Okay, we got pepper spray. All right, so we're going to go look at selling things here. I think we're basically, we're going to hold on to the spider in case we get a poison enchanted something later where this 2 poison matters. The Uzi I'm going to keep because it can be an enabler just because it's very fast. If we need something to like use the Uzi on the metronome like right away, it can be good for that. I need 1 slot. So I sell a spare change, and that seems fine. Here, we get 0 money because we have no tools. Loot or silver item. We're still looking for items that can improve our board. So we're going to take that. Loot would just not be that beneficial for us right now. So we just take the silver item. A bulldozer, that's a big boy. We got to make some space for him. So we'll sell our gold small item, and we will sell some spare change as well to make space for him. The reason why I'm not selling this citrus, 4 regen is okay. It's pretty good early on, actually, but I'm not selling it specifically for this event here. Mandala, transform your items into something new. So having a diamond item is quite rare on day 5. We're giving up looking at Kina for items. She has bugs and things, so we are kind of giving up a lot by going to the mandala instead, but there's the potential for this to be quite good. So we're going to skip Kina. It's not wrong to go to Kina, but I have a little bit of fun here. Okay, so we have a fancier Gearnola, which is fun. That's actually a lot of shield. I don't know if I've ever had a diamond Gearnola bar. Especially, definitely not this early. I haven't. Okay, we're gonna go look for our drill once again. We're giving up random items and a little bit of money here, but we have good money. We can go here. None of these are really worthwhile. So we roll. Blast doors. If we weren't on day 5 already, this could be an okay buy. It can save you against some Vanessas and things. And Zed Sword is just like a very slow, clunky item. I've made it work sometimes, but we're definitely not there. I used it in a force field build before to reduce the cooldown of force field. Okay, we're going to go against Mac here. We have Satcom, so we want to sell something to make space. In this case, I'm going to sell this Piggles, which we don't need. And yeah, this gives us small friend. So we make sure we have a small space for our small friend. We're up against a Mac here. Our build is decent. I wouldn't say we're like guaranteed to win this, but I think we have a reasonable shot here. We'll see what they've got. They have an awful lot of health. They must have had a knee brace. Yep, they got a silver knee brace. This is going to be a pretty tough one because they have lifesteal on this, and they're going to heal back to full partway through the fight. The amount of burn we stack up might be enough, though. We'll see. I'm glad we had that extra 240 shield from the Gearnola. Okay, there. Took it down. Even though that Mac had an awful lot of health because of a silver knee brace and lifesteal and this potion. So we ran through a whole lot of damage, or a whole lot of health there. They healed with this as well. But yeah, we stacked up so much burn on our rocket launcher because we've invested a bit into the rocket launcher, so it's pretty strong. On to day 6 here. The aerodrome is fun, but I think, okay, we got an Uwashiwali bird. Probably not ever using that. Dooley tends not to have properties. We're going to go to middle here and look for our drill again. We might still not run the drill yet, but drill is more like a long-term potential to think about. I am going to take this upgrade because we have a decent amount of money. Sometimes you might skip this upgrade because if you don't have that much money, it's not a huge upgrade. But right now we can afford it, and it's a decent. And here, DJ Robot is something to think about because we have got DJ Robot and Bulldozer. We could potentially transition away from this burn if we need to, the ignition core and the rocket launcher. So let me just think about it for a moment. I need 3 spots to buy the DJ Robot. I have 3 things that I can sell here: the bird, the fang, and the Gearnola. And it's 8. I think because this is early on in the day, we don't necessarily want to spend all our gold right now on like an item that we're probably not even going to use yet. A silver bulldozer is not great. You kind of want bulldozer to be at least gold before you start running it, like a 10% cooldown, and the 10 damage increase it gets when you use friends is really not that much. So if I bought this DJ robot, I probably wouldn't even run it yet. So we'd just be holding on to it, and we'd lose out a bunch of money that we could spend for the rest of the day here. So I'm going to not take the DJ robot. And mech moles and Harmadillo are just not really options I'm thinking about at all. All right, here we go. We've got chocolates. I would like some chocolates. My health is feeling a little low because we haven't had that many chocolates yet. JJ is very good shop because he can kind of have everything. But that said, our board is relatively strong. So we want to make space for 5 chocolates. Like I said, that bird is likely to not get used. Gearnola, we have a better Gearnola, so I don't think we need to keep that one. And then my options are to sell these 3 things or the bulldozer, basically. I think I get rid of these. The bulldozer has more potential later if we find an upgrade for it or something. So yeah, we'll say goodbye to these and get our fancy chocolate. I love me some fancy chocolate. It's 10 gold, and it's for 30 health for each of these, and there's 5 of them, so you get 150 health, which is a pretty good chunk of health. Okay, here we're looking at upgrade a silver or lower tier item or get a skill. I was talking about the bulldozer. And maybe that's something I didn't consider, that we'd be leveling up and be able to upgrade him to gold. So the option is bulldozer, upgrade this bug. I don't think it's this bug though. Even though you do want this upgraded, bulldozer is like a more impactful upgrade right now. I sort of wish I had the DJ robot, but if I bought the DJ robot, I wouldn't be able to afford the chocolate bars. And the chocolate bars are really important. I think another option is to upgrade SATCOM. But we are sort of at the point where we're going to be facing some scarier boards. So let me think for a moment. Bulldozer, wherever I put it, will take one of these damage things. We'll probably get the rocket launcher out. 30 burn at a time is still pretty strong right now, but it's going to fall off later because it's mostly because it's slow, the rocket launcher. We don't have a battery for it or anything like that. So it's an interesting choice here. Skills are just kind of like catch-all, always good. We could maybe find our bulldozer upgrade just in the shop. So I think there's no like definitely wrong choice here. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to take the skill because basically I have good income. I can maybe find a bulldozer upgrade. Poison and freeze is very good. Fiery, that's a lot of burn. Again, that can carry me. But I think the freeze is kind of hard to pass up. Although fiery is really good when I have 2 fire weapons. I think either of these are decent choice. I don't have any freeze yet, and I have a little bit of defense. So I'm going to take... This is tough. I think, yeah, Fiery can still carry me for a couple wins, but it might start to drop off. So I'm going to take the freeze. I think there's a good choice to be made. Either of those. Okay, the Lich is probably not something we can beat. Even if we eat all our chocolates here, I'm going to fight the Dire Inglet. So this is a point where you do care about what kind of skills they have, because the only difference here is 1 gold. I haven't fought these guys very often, so I do have to sometimes check on what they have. So I'm going to open up How Bazaar. So How Bazaar here is a very useful website. We are on day 6, so we can see the Dire Inglet here. This is a very good skill. Other than that, we probably don't care about anything else. The Eagle Talisman's good. And the other option is the Foreman. Their skill is okay, but not great. So I think we go for the Dire Inglet here. The Lich is rough. You need a lot of damage and a lot of weapons. And we probably don't need to eat our chocolate to beat the Dire Inglet. So I'm going to just keep it in the bag in case we run into Barcoon. Yeah. Eagle Talisman would be okay. Pelt for some extra gold would be okay. Obsidian Fang. Maybe if we get some kind of damage scaling, that would actually be decent. And then aggressive is mostly what we're hoping for here. On typical Dooley runs, I have more skills, I feel like, but we're running into some different things. So we got a Broken Shackles. That's scaling, but not great scaling. We will sell a chocolate now. All right, so here, tools, there's a pretty good chance he's got our drill. Not that we necessarily are going drill. We're giving up temp boost of, I would probably take the 25 damage, because 25 damage added onto this thing is a lot. We don't have a ton of money, so like I wouldn't want to re-roll here. So we're basically looking at just the 3 items he has. I think I'm going to take the temp boost instead, because I really don't want to waste any money re-rolling here if we don't get the drill. So I'll take the temp boost of damage. It's a lot of damage. Would I consider changing the Gearnola into something else? I don't think so. Valpak. I don't have any bronze items to sell him, but he could have something I want. So I'm going to check him out. We'll see. How much do I have to sell? I don't have that much to sell. I'm not going to bother re-rolling. 4 gold is more than I want to re-roll. Okay, we're up against a Mac. Hopefully we just have enough damage to take them down. We will remember to sell our chocolate for our health. And we have room for our SATCOM to give us a friend after this. Momo V's? Mom ofs? Alright, so he's got lethargy. That's annoying. Increases everything cooldown. They got a lot of poison. And VAT is pretty strong. So this will be interesting. I do have 400 extra health compared to him. Freezing the VAT was nice. We might be good here just because we have that extra 500 health. Yes, tie. Just got there because we're up a level on them, plus we ate some chocolate. So all that extra health really came in handy there. Yeah, we had 400 extra health, but we ended up tying at the end. This was toxic, so it had a lot of poison, even though it only went off twice. This only went off once. Like, they didn't have to do a lot because they had just a lot of poison and lethargy. So lethargy made everything slower, which gave poison the time to tick down. Without this, that fight is much more in our favor. Yeah, lethargy is nice with poison because poison is a slow killing kind of thing. Let's check out what friend we got. An Illusa Ray. Unlikely we run that, but maybe. Maybe at some point we think this Granola bar is not great and we put the Illusa Ray out because it would help charge the Green Wasp like this, basically. But it's pretty slow. Maybe I run it. Maybe. I'll think about it. Here, our board is getting a little like stale, you could say. Like we haven't done a significant upgrade to it in a while. So I think I'm going to look for items here. Chocolate is like a guaranteed improvement to our state. I'd probably take the free chocolate. It means I would have to sell stuff because we're early in the day. I'm going to see more shops. But I think it's worth going to JJ to see if we can improve our board. Thermal Lance can be very good. It's a lot of burn again. And we are putting out a decent amount of burn. So this is something to think about. It's very expensive right now. It's 16 gold. I'd probably run the Thermal Lance over like these two guys, and then try and haste it with the metronome maybe. It is something to consider. It just costs an awful lot of gold. Let me think for a moment. It is a lot of burn. It's relatively fast. So what would it look like? Like Thermal Lance, and we take out maybe like the Slow Spider and the Poison Spider. That does seem decent. I'm going to buy it. So that's what we're going to try out. We do get to test it out as well. Okay, here I could convert the Granola, but I think the Granola is actually decent right now because it's going to give us a chance to scale our burn. At Diamond, it's a lot of shield, 240. It's basically 240 health is how you can think of it, which is still a significant portion of our health. We're low on money, so we're just going to take a small non-weapon here. That's actually a very good one. Coolant is very nice to have. All right, crit skills, haste and charge skills, and gold skills. The haste and charge skills we would be looking for are like when you haste, get crit chance. When you haste, freeze. And those are very good to have. Gold skills obviously can be anything. But like, and crit skills are probably not what we're looking for. Like it can add some flat crit, which is okay. Some of them are like when you crit, do something, but we have no crit, so those would be bad. The upside of taking gold skills is obviously that it's gold versus like you might get a silver haste and charge skill here. We do not have a ton of money to re-roll. So I think we'll go to the haste and charge skills. Yeah, see, there's silver. Quick ignition can be good, especially if you have something that gives you like a fast start. But I think static acceleration is just is pretty decent here. It's going to give us a lot of crit. Okay, we're going to fight the big bird here. We're going to rearrange our board a bit. This is going to go off a little less often, but I want to charge the burn core. That said, like putting it here will throw out haste more often, which could land on this. It's kind of a toss-up. I'm not sure, 100% sure what order should be there. And then we're fighting the bird, which puts out burn. I think it's worthwhile taking coolant here. And then together with the shield, we fight the Corsair. The Corsair is 5 XP, so it's like definitely something you want to do if you can. Let's see, what did they what did they make slower here? Oh, rocket launcher there, 10 seconds. That's annoying. Yeah, you can see our thermal lance is getting a lot of burn here. We should win this fight pretty easily. Yes, we're hoping for Fire Rebirth. If we get Flame Dancer, that's actually decent. This used to be an absolutely terrible skill, but they just upgraded it recently. And as we're talking about it, there it is. 10% crit, and we're running a lot of burn stuff, so I think that's worthwhile to take. The reason why you might not want to take a bad skill is because if you run into the Grand Master event, which lets you upgrade your skills, you want a small pool of skills that are actually good for you. If you have a crappy skill, you don't want it to be offered. We'll take the fight here. Ghost Pepper is scary. He's very, very strong because he puts out a lot of burn and he gets a lot of regeneration. I think with our Gearnola and our coolant and our stacking fire, we should be okay here, but he's a very, very scary fight. You should be very wary of taking this fight because he's only 2 XP. Yeah, you're almost never choosing to fight this guy for the most part. Like, look at that regen. It's disgusting. We used up our Gearnola, but yeah, we'll kill him. So we're still keep potentially thinking about alternative builds. Like, we're not locked in. Broken Shackles is kind of the worst item I have right now. So we will... Oh, we're... our buttons aren't working. Bear with me 1 second. Try and get back in. Yeah, I think like an important part of getting better and like having good runs is thinking about like what you could possibly be looking out for. Like, what kind of pivot could you make? Like, I'm still keeping this guy around because maybe I run into an upgrade and I run into some more bugs, and so we just turn from this burn build into something else. That's why my inventory is basically always completely full, because there's no reason not to do that other than like not wanting to deal with the space issues. Here, silver loot item could be okay. It could also be terrible. Gives us some gold. We're still looking for potential items, so I'm going to take a random silver here. Okay, a Hamlet is not great. Here we do have to make a choice now. Nitro is very good, generally, especially if you get the drill. The Gearnola is starting to fall off a little bit. So I could consider selling that. I could consider selling the Bulldozer. I just talked about keeping it around, but we could, find it in a shop, a gold version. And this frees up more space, which makes things a little easier later to like buy chocolates and things. The Illusoray is just so slow that I don't know if we would ever run it. It is good for like charging up the Green Wasp. Let me take a moment to think. We want to take the Hamlet because it's money. I think right now we're probably the furthest away from using the Bulldozer, actually. Because basically to run the bulldozer, we'd need to upgrade the bulldozer plus get some more friends. The nitro would just be good because basically all I need is the drill, and like that makes the nitro pretty good. Larger items can be harder to come by, so that's a reason to keep the bulldozer. But yeah, I think, like I said, we're the furthest away from using the bulldozer, so I'm gonna get rid of him. We kept him around for a long time. Here, a bronze upgrade versus going for random items. I think we actually will upgrade this yellow mantis. Bronze items start showing up not as often in the later days, so it's going to be harder and harder to upgrade this mantis. So I think it's worthwhile. Going to Andy is very good because we're still missing like the freeze bug and the fire bug. Other potential items like a battery or metronome upgrade. So this is a very good shop. I think there's a good reason for going to either of these, but in this case, I think upgrading this guy is worth it. It'll have higher chances of hitting the thermal lance to upgrade it. Okay, and we're against Bob123. Just take a look quickly at our board. I have to think, do I want this freeze or do I want Aiden? Aiden is good because the haste that might hit the thermal lance. It's just a fast item that heals us a little bit. Vanessa's do have burn builds, so that would be why we would pick the coolant. And freezing like a one weapon build is very good because right now we don't do any slow or any freezing. We don't have the poison bug for this freeze. We're basically all out damage. Let's see, what level is she? She's level 8, so one level behind us. With that in mind, I think with our Gearnola bar plus extra health, we just go all out damage, and that could work. I think it's not unreasonable to switch to the slow spider and the poison spider to kind of control things. Okay, so they have shipwreck with a hasted catfish. That's going to be very scary to deal with. And a multicast pearl. They're going to put out, I think, too much shield for us here. Unless our thermal lance gets like every bit of haste. No, too much poison, yeah. Catfish is disgusting. And they had dive weights and stuff. Yeah, so a loss there. But I think no build we could have put together with the items we have would have won there. So that's fine. I'm going to go to Andy or the aerodrome. We have a good bit of money, so we could go to the aerodrome to look for like a skill shop or something, but I think Andy is just pretty good. Like there's a lot of upgrades we could get here. Get the green wasp upgrade. That's not a great one. We're not upgrading charcoal. And we got the red firefly. Diamond GPU. So we could think about, okay, there's chocolate. It's kind of hard to buy chocolate because we have so much stuff right now. So I think we'll take a look at what Hef has for us here. There's the drill, which is interesting. And I think we're done with the rocket launcher. I mean, we put some money into it, but we're on day 8. It's a slow item. Sure, it charges this guy up and puts out some burn. But I think we're at the point where we're done with the rocket launcher. So we're going to make space for it. We're going to buy the drill and not reroll because it's very expensive to reroll. This is not going to be my board. I'm just going to reconfigure things and see what it looks like instead. We don't necessarily need the ignition core anymore either, because this scales up a lot on its own with just the haste. So that's something to think about. Let's see what that looks like, I guess. So we got to put we're going to start with the bugs. And the bug order is something like this by default anyway. You don't always put them in exact order. That's kind of the default. Gearnola maybe is, now we're not so interested in Gearnola. The thermal lance is maybe coming out because maybe we're going to rely on drill damage now. Which means maybe we have our metronome and something. The poison bug basically what I'm looking at is placing things next to each other so they charge the most that I can get them to. This charges when adjacent item burns. So this is my burn. This charges when adjacent item hastes. So I could move this one somewhere else, like next to the metronome or next to first aid in. This charges when adjacent items burn or poison, of which I only have 2. And this charges when adjacent item slows or freezes. So I could put the coolant next to it or the illusoray, but the illusoray has multicast. So basically what's happening here is this will help charge this. So this helps charge this. And these also help charge each other. So like that's why you would put them in the typical order. And I think that's fine right now. There are considerations to make, like with the metronome, because the metronome counts as a haste. So you might put the firefly next to it so that the firefly gets a lot of haste. And then, so what that would look like is something like this and kind of reverse the order. The problem with this is that and then you'd like, but then it's like this thing now is not charging from anything. So I think overall in this case we can keep the basic order of the bugs. And here we go against Dr. Vortex again, just max XP. We could go to try and get the feather or the crit skill would also be extremely good. We're only giving up on 1 XP, so maybe we actually do go here. His skill is good, but this has both the feather and the crit skill. We're giving up on 1 XP. Something I see other players say is like, oh, we're going to level this day anyway, so I don't care about the extra XP. But I think that's the wrong way to think about it, because all those bits of extra XP you get now, they add up for the later days, which can lead you to a higher level than you would be on the later days. Well, you know, often you go into a fight and you needed 1 or 2 more XP and you would have leveled. So even if you're going to level, it's not necessarily great. Okay, we high rolled a bit here. We got what we wanted. Yeah, even if you're going to level, it's not always great to think about it that way, I think. Sometimes it makes sense, but not always. And here, we're looking for an enchantment on the drill that would help charge the drill up. So we're going to put slow on it. That's a pretty easy choice to make there. So our board is substantially different from what we had. We were running, a lot of burn stuff before, but now we swapped over to bugs and drill because we kept a lot of this stuff in the bag for, just in case it would come by. Here we go to Bazaar for XP. 2 XP is pretty hard to come by, so it's very nice to take here. And then we're not really looking for any weapons, so we're going to take a temp boost here. The options are 270 extra health or 25 damage. 25 damage is a pretty significant amount of damage, so I think that's what we're going to take here. There are times where you take the health. It depends kind of what build you're running. All right, we're up against a 3-win Mac. So feeling pretty good about this one if it's just a 3-win Mac. I forgot to check my stash space. Oh, so I made a mistake there. I should have checked my stash space because we're going to miss out on a a free friend now. So my mistake. You know, sometimes as I'm talking through these runs, you forget about things like that. Okay, their femur does a lot of damage, but, you know, with all our freezing and slowing, we were able to get through that. We're 2 levels ahead of them because we've been XP maxing like crazy. And yeah, look, we had 1,000 more health than them because of our XP maxing. So a little bit of a free win there, but, you know, sometimes you get those. It's okay. So I'm sad we lost out on a friend. It's unfortunate, but that's okay. And here, sorry about the flipping back and forth. I could look for small items. I think I'm going to do that. The other option is to transform that diamond granola that's not really useful anymore into something else. But I think just looking for items, because there's several upgrades that I could get from looking at items. Oh, I've got a phone call here. 1 second. Let me pause my recording. 1 second. Okay, and we're back. We're looking for items that help us. Well, none of these do. That's unfortunate. And none of these help us either. So, I mean, rolling the diamond item might have given us nothing as well. Gumballs are expensive. They're not that helpful right now, so we're going to go to Kina to look for what we need. I almost really don't care about this upgrade. It's kind of a waste of 4 gold. Like 2 poison is probably not going to help us. So I'm just going to skip and not bother with that upgrade. Okay, there's a freeze beetle. That's exactly what we're looking for. Hamlet, we're never using you. And I think like the freeze beetle is fine to have instead of the illusoray, probably. Just have the Exodia bugs and then have this extra freeze as well. Yeah, I think that's good. I think maybe we want to haste this beetle as well. The reason why these beetles are so good, like the freeze beetle, the slow spider, and the yellow mantis here, is because they have multiple. So haste 3 items counts as 3 charges for the drill. So hasting this guy is very nice. Even though he's a little bit slower. Here we're going to XP max again, especially because it's 2 versus 4. 4 XP is a lot of XP. I don't even really care what the other guys have in terms, like maybe the sniper guy has a good skill for my drill. Probably not, but I wouldn't want that one because it slows your drill down. We're not like infinitely charging the drill right now. But there's a couple skills that would help us. Some burn skills, like one's called Hotspot, I think. Your leftmost item does a burn when you use it, or Grease Fire, I think, is the one that when you use a tool it burns. Here I am going to take this. 2% crit chance every time this poison bug goes off is decent. Would like to scale up our crit a little faster. Here I'm going to go to Bjorn. Basically, Bjorn, what you're hoping for is to get the skill called Shatter, which when you freeze upgrades your weapon damage. I did not get those. These are decent, these two. This is more crit chance, and this is a freeze. But I'm going to re-roll and take the chance. Okay, we did not get Shatter. We got Invigorate. That's a little more haste. A longer freeze on here, or 3-second freeze here. 3-second freeze here is pretty good though. So not the worst. We were looking for something else. We didn't get it, but that's okay. Here I could go for friends, and I think I will versus these other two. Temp boost is good for damage, obviously. But I think I have so many friends that I could use for upgrading that I can go here. Okay, there's an Aiden upgrade. We're going to sell our thermal lance. We're done with that. Get the Aiden upgrade. That's nice. And we are going to re-roll just because there's so many things that could potentially help us here. We didn't get any of them, but that's fine. All right, and here, I kind of want chocolate. I think I can... We don't necessarily need the expensive chocolate. We just need to make space for the chocolate. I have to think about whether I want the nitro. I think I'm keeping the nitro. There's a possibility that nitro is better than like first Aiden, because we already have haste from this. The heal doesn't matter that much. They're both 4 seconds, but this does 2 burns when it goes off because it burns both players and a charge. So it's 4 seconds of charge on this plus 1 second of charge on a random thing versus Aiden does only a single 2-second charge on this and a 3-second haste. So like that's why I would run that. And I think we will take the... Well, we're at the end of the day. We really want this win because we're getting into the late stages. I'll have 5 gold left over, plus something from the SATCOM, plus my income. So actually, I will take the fancy chocolate this time. And we'll sell our chocolate as we face a Dooley. So we've got a Dooley with 5 wins here. They're level 10. We're level 11, I believe. So yeah, we're still up on levels. We're up on health. They have 3 Aidens. I've never seen that. First, second, and third Aiden. They're going to get a lot of poison, a lot of damage. We're going to disrupt them a lot with slow and freeze, though. So I think we win this. Yeah. That's cool. I've never seen 3 first Aidens before. A toxic nanobot. That's kind of fun. First, second, third Aiden. How can you have 3 firsts? Small and medium items at Quixel. We got another yellow mantis. Versus more chocolate. We're at the start of the day, so we're going to see a lot of shops. I'm going to go to Quixel. I don't think I'll re-roll here, though. It's just too much money. There's nothing here that I want. Dooley Scarf might be good if you're going a Force Field build or a Momosaur build. Gold tier tool, gold tier loot, gold tier item. Here is where I'm going to take the gold tier loot. If you happen to get a gold insect wing or gold feather, it's very good. And our board is pretty good, so we don't necessarily need to go fishing for an item to make it better. We get scrap, which is not useful in any way, but that's fine. And we can go to Barcoon and sell that scrap for an extra gold, I suppose. I love Atomic Clock. If you ever come to watch my live streams and I'm not playing super serious, I buy Atomic Clock basically every time and try and make it work. Sometimes it just sits in my inventory for a super long time and does nothing. But I'm always looking to buy Atomic Clock. Here, I'm just going to sell these. I'm going to keep first Aiden because say I get a robotics facility later and I want to have a fast startup. The nitro no longer makes sense if I have a robotics facility because robotics facility gives your friends multicast. And if I have a robotics facility, I can't necessarily just go all the bugs because as you see, they're all a 6-second cooldown. So your startup time is very, very long if you don't have a first Aiden. So I'm not going to sell the first Aiden here. I'm going to keep him in case we get robotics facility. And I can roll. I will take this SATCOM upgrade. We only have a couple days left potentially. So let me just think about that one more second before I actually take it. It's not going to help me during this day. It might help me in the later days. You know what? I'm actually not going to take it. We have a couple shops to look at. Like I said, robotics facility is something we're potentially looking at taking, so we're not going to take it. Void Golem, we lose to Void Golem. Don't fight Void Golem if you have a whole bunch of bugs. He's really annoying to fight. Don't go there. We'll just go to the Trash Titan. We don't necessarily care about his skill, but if we happen to get Juggler, when you use a small item, charge a large item, we could think about switching into Dualtron instead of the drill. So we'll go here. Gives us 3 gold instead of 2 gold versus the other enemy. Sometime that can matter because our money is not like super great, even though we have the Satcom for some econ. Like our money is still like not way up there. You take fights whenever possible, pretty much. Okay, we get to fight the other enemy anyway, so the hulking experiment here. Nothing I care about here. But the XP. I do care about the XP. There's a world where like energy potion could be good, but unlikely. Okay, we're going to get rid of the junkyard lance, which we don't need. Oh, our buttons are broken again. Unfortunate. Let's get back in and hopefully everything is fine. Take the Athanor that will not be useful to us. And we're going to level up here again, which is really nice. Level 13 on day 10 is pretty good. I could go look for Dualtron. Or like big bulldozer or a drill upgrade versus gumballs. I think the gumballs are just so expensive for how little they do at this point. So I'm going to go here and see. There's a force field. Not what we're doing. And nothing here is worth it for what we're doing as well. Only lost out on a little bit of gold there. Okay, let's see here. We could upgrade an item. It might be worth upgrading the blue beetle because it freezes 4 items, which is very good, obviously, versus a skill. I think that's basically what I'm thinking about, is or upgrading the yellow mantis. But I think 4 freezes is just kind of far and away the best upgrade. The kind of order of beetles you want to upgrade is the blue, the freeze, the black spider for slow, and then the haste. And then you don't really care about upgrading the poison or the burn one. So this will let me freeze 4 items. We're up against a Mac that's doing pretty well, so this could be a tough one. We'll see. We have space in our stash for the Satcom friend that will come. We've got a fiery vat of acid. That's going to be a lot of burn. That's going to charge pretty fast. It's got multicast too, which is a bit scary. Okay, they put out a lot of burn and poison on us, and we take a little while to get going. I think they got us here, yeah. Unfortunate. It takes us a little while to get going, I gotta say. We're a bit slow on the start. Oh, and you know what? This should be here. That probably wouldn't have mattered, but this does help us start a little faster. So sorry if you've been watching and like tearing out your hair like, God, why doesn't he move that over? Sorry about that. I could transform this because it's gold. It could turn into a robotics facility or a Dualtron versus going to Kev for enchanted shield and health items. I think I will try transforming this. Let's see. We got a crane. Not what I was hoping for, but that's okay. And then, again, we look for weapons the same reason as last time. We might get a drill upgrade. We might get Dualtron. We might get a gold bulldozer. Or diamond bulldozer. Void Golem again. Very annoying. It's like minus XP every time this guy shows up. That sucks. You want like any other boss other than the Void Golem. Mac is pretty scary this patch with certain builds. Yeah, that's a much better start there. I don't think it would have mattered against that Mac. Maybe. It's hard to tell because we'd be freezing and slowing more early on. But that vat of acid with multicast is very scary. Catalyst, okay. I don't think that's going to be changing into a reagent anytime soon. Okay, here I will take the SATCOM upgrade because we have quite a bit of gold. It's not as big of an investment this time. And we're going to roll to see what else you got here. I mean, I'm going to skip these. I'm going to take the first Aiden upgrade and not take the Wasp upgrade. There's a chance we get first Aiden in, like I said, if we find the robotics facility. We get a free upgrade. I think that's the way to go. Upgrade the spider for more slow. I would like a curio shop, maybe. Okay, here we look at bird skills, because we're looking for grease fire or hotspot. I think that's the names of them. We did not get those. Extra burn is not great. This is okay, because it would reduce the cooldown of these by a lot, but you have to be below half health. So we're going to roll. Okay, here's one. Hotspot, when you use your leftmost item, burn 2. So that will help the drill charge a lot more. Okay, up against a Vanessa, we're going to make space in our inventory for the SATCOM. Let's see what we got going here. We did have a couple upgrades, so we're running a board a little better now because we got Hotspot and that spider upgrade. Let's see, we're up against some weapons. She has a lot of health. She's level 13. We're up a level on her, but she has a lot of health. But I think we're going to do enough freeze and slow that we should take this. Yeah, pretty easy one there. Even though she flashbanged us and made all our stuff slow. All right, we're on to potentially our 10th win. We'll see. We'll see. All right, what do we got? We got a trained spider, a little bit of poison. I'm going to go to JJ. There's some upgrades I could still get versus trying to turn the crane into a robotics facility. He could just sell it, but there's a lot of upgrades on our board that we can get, so that's why I'm choosing to go here. That's not one that I want. I will take the crypto, so we'll make space for it. That's potential value. This is a thing I've never seen anyone run because it's pretty bad, and we're not interested in the other items. Antimatter chamber. I'm going to skip the chocolate again. It's not as impactful when we're, at 5,000 health. A gold bulldozer, 20% cooldown. I have to think about whether that's worth it over some of the charging. Putting bulldozer out, maybe taking out the coolant and the nitro and like one of these other bugs and putting Aiden in, like gets us started a lot faster. I think it's worth it to try it out to see how it feels. Versus just the bug Exodia build. So we have to make space for it if we're going to try it out, though, which is the unfortunate part of all this. So we can definitely get rid of the spider. We don't make much money off our crypto, but we can sell it. And we have to sell one more thing. We could give up on this crane. Maybe I should have just thought of that before selling those other things. I mean, the spider and whatever, it probably doesn't really matter. Yeah, I think we give up on the crane. Take the bulldozer, roll, and see what else is here. Okay, nothing. We'll have to look at what our build looks like. We'll get a chance to test it out here. So I think I want a fast startup with first aid in, which will help charge this. I'm losing out on the metronome. I would like the yellow mantis. So maybe like to just get more haste on everything. So these guys will still charge each other, which is good. But this will no longer charge. The first Aiden gets us going faster, so that's why I have it there. The other option is to like put the metronome in somewhere next to the drill, because the drill is going to go off a lot. And then like haste this bug. So now this is not getting charged by anything. This is not getting charged by anything. So like that doesn't feel great. Without the metronome, I don't know if we're using the drill enough. We'll see how this feels against the octopus, though. The octopus, relatively easy fight, so it's a good test to see how this feels. I do like, the 3.2 seconds startup here. And then our stuff starts going. It's not infinitely looping like it was before, but it's like decent. We are scaling up our crit pretty well. I think that's pretty decent. It's nice having a little bit faster startup time. We're hoping for that nice skill. Okay, didn't get it. Tiny cutlass as usual. And again, we're going to go for loot this time. Gold feather, gold something. Gold ember is not great. Trade health for power. I could enchant bulldozer for a big chunk of life. I mean, bulldozer does okay damage, so giving him crit would be okay. But I don't really want to lose that much of my life. It's like a huge percentage of health. And bulldozer does not hit that often. He's kind of slow, so the crit is not great. If he misses a crit, then it's a big waste. So I think I'm just gonna go here and look for upgrades. Okay, fiber optics is very good. We're gonna have to think about that now too. Lots of placement decisions to make. I don't care about the wasp or the green wasp upgrade or the burn upgrade. I do like this upgrade though, so I will happily take that. Now before I leave, would I want to charge this? No, not when it's just at silver. Okay, and we can go to Barcoon here versus getting a bit of damage. I do love myself an atomic clock, but not for this run, not for this run. Okay, nothing really worthwhile here. We have no damage scaling, which is a bit bad. We're up against a Mac. That's pretty scary. Let's see how we could make this fit in. We basically want to charge coolant if we can, or the blue beetle. So if we can charge the blue beetle, that would be ideal. So maybe we forget about bulldozer, because sure, our startup will be a little slower, but as soon as we start up, we're going to be charging the beetle for like a ton of freeze really fast. So I think there's a reason to have metronome in, just to make sure the drill is going super fast. And then we don't necessarily have to have something next to this that will charge it. It needs poison to charge, but now we're charging it with the drill instead. We might want to haste this thing. And then this goes next to something that burns to charge this up. And then, well, I think I'd rather charge the slow instead. Just put as much slow and freeze on them as possible. There's also an argument to be made for charging the coolant because it freezes longer, but half as many items right now. So I think because this is diamond, that's why I'm choosing this one. And then, you know what? This haste charging will help things go faster sooner, rather than charging this guy up. Yeah, and I think that's basically it. The coolant, maybe we don't need coolant and can instead run something that will help one of these guys charge up. So these both charge with burn. So like I could put this guy in the middle here. And that would help charge the slow up versus an extra freeze. And that also helps trigger the drill a little bit more, which charges the blue beetle. I think that's what I'll do. I'm going to sell this to get a tiny bit more burn here and make space for my SATCOM. Let me just think. You know, I do want things to start up as fast as possible. So maybe, even though this guy won't get charged this way, I get the Firefly charged by Aiden going sooner. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Because I want to get the drill going as fast as humanly possible, just to start. We're up against potions, incense, Athenor, infinite potions, draconic rage. That's very scary. Hopefully we just freeze them to death. It's funny that they're running rocket boots here. Okay, we're just basically freezing them to death here. Yeah, because of charging this guy up so much. That felt pretty decent, I think. In terms of how often things were triggering. Our drill was basically infinite there. This helped us get started a little sooner. So I think that was the right choice. And that was our 10 win. Definitely could have made some different choices here and there. We ended up with a drill build and bugs. That's kind of the typical Dooley build, but you don't always get there. Sometimes you can take some different turns and make some other builds. You know, I've had success with running Langjon, actually, and from the early day one fight. I've had success, a lot of success with going force field, if you get the right skills around that. Yeah, I think there's options out there for Dooley. The current meta definitely pushes you towards bugs because they're easy to get. Yeah, I really hope you learned something from that. Definitely leave in the comments, you know, where I could have positioned things better, because I'm still learning too. Can always get better. You know, leave a comment on that. Leave comments on, you know, other runs you'd like to see, more Dooley, Mac, Pig, Vanessa. I don't play the other characters as much, mostly Dooley. He's my main, but I could learn some of the other characters and put out more videos. So please like, comment, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Thanks.